Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And this is Ellen coming to you from the beautiful island of St. Bart's, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Coming to you direct from New York City, this is Dennis. And on this episode of Light Talk, we have a very special guest, designer Paul Radasseo.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers
and Sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 429. So 2 weeks ago, we introduced our Young Designers series. And today, we give you the second installment of this series. So I would like to introduce everyone to lighting designer Paul Radasseo. Hey, Paul, how you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing marvelous. Hey, we know who you are, but Dennis, could you please tell our listeners a little bit about Paul?
Sure thing. Paul Radasseo is an Ithaca College BFA graduate and a New York City-based lighting designer who's focusing on broadcast television and live events. As a frequent collaborator with the Lighting Design Group, Paul works as a lighting director, an assistant lighting director, more recently working in the systems department as a draftsperson and assistant. Working on both the lighting and systems design in many studios, he's helped create and manage paperwork from the studio's architectural drawings all the way to more traditional light plots. Paul also works extensively alongside the TV Lighting Design Incorporated designer Scott Wolfel as a systems and lighting designer. Working on multiple studio installs together and designing many live events, Paul also currently acts as the lighting supervisor for Aruba Productions and oversees the lighting for touring productions, as well as any event, weekends, or special filmed versions of productions. Just as a side, Scotty Wolfile, who is also a good friend of mine, and I ran into each other on the train going into work together. I haven't seen him in years. What are the chances of that? I'll tell you.
It's Kismet.
It's Kismet. Welcome aboard, Paul.
Thank you.
I should also note that even though Paul does a lot of work for the Lighting Design Group, which is a company that I'm also very familiar with, Paul and I have never, ever worked together on a project, which is pretty astounding.
He probably wants to keep it that way, Dennis.
You know what? That's why he's so successful.
There he goes.
Before we start with these other questions, I have a question. Yeah. How far out of school are you? When did you finish?
I graduated in 2015, so I'm 10 years out.
10 years.
Yeah.
That's a decade, man. Even I know that.
It's a long time.
And how do you feel? 10 years. I mean, are you happy with your life right now?
Yeah, I am. Everything's really going great, between work, life. I'm getting married on Saturday. And
congratulations.
Yay.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Well, wait a minute.
Awesome.
Hold on. Paul, Saturday is when we air this show. You're going to have to postpone the wedding.
Well, just play it at the wedding,
Exactly.
There you go.
At the reception. Everybody get drunk and listen to this.
There we go.
I know that many of our listeners do that.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome, man.
Awesome.
So who's the lucky partner?
My soon-to-be wife, Tara Murphy. She's also is an Ithaca College graduate. And also works in theater. So,
and a lovely Irish lass, it sounds like.
That's very Irish.
Irish. Is she an actor?
No, she works in general management.
You're so smart.
She's actually the associate general manager for Aruba Productions. We ended up working there separate from each other, and we work there together now as they're one of my clients that I work with on the weekends, and she's there full time.
That sounds very much like Kelsey and Keegan from a couple weeks ago.
We need to get her on the show, too. We could have couples. Instead of just young designers, young couples. We could do the Newlywed game.
I love it.
That's
Tell
very
me something,
funny.
Paul. In the evenings, when you're trying to watch television, what program would you turn on to go to sleep? Oh, Paul said Seinfeld.
And Tara said
CNN.
Oh, let's take that the other way. Since you're a designer, what's the one television show that you really enjoy watching?
From a lighting design perspective,
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to guess he's going to say something. He's going to say Severance, right?
I haven't watched Severance. I'll be honest with you. You know, I really liked the first season of The Last of Us. I thought that was really good. Truthfully, I don't get to watch much TV nowadays with the past year of being engaged and trying to get everything ready for the wedding. But that would be... HBO does a really good job, I think, on those dramatic kind of shows that need good lighting and everything.
And where are you guys going for your honeymoon?
I actually booked us... we're going to Italy in October.
Oh,
So,
what part?
We're going to go to Rome, Florence, and Venice.
Very romantic.
Yeah, it should be
All
great.
right. Well, hey, you want to talk about lighting before we run out of time here?
We can totally talk about lighting.
How did a young Paul in high school decide he wanted to go and study scenic design and lighting design?
I was in the arts back in high school. You know, I was a music student and I did after school theater stuff. And
Where was that? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Washingtonville, New York, up in Orange County, probably like 20 minutes from Newburgh, if those who know the Hudson Valley area. And I just kind of picked up a knack for it. I kind of fell in love with working with my hands a lot. I was doing a lot of carpentry, a lot of electrics. Our school was fortunate enough to do a 4-wall rental every year of like 6 moving lights. Not like huge, but like, so I had to call 4-wall for the school and deal with, what that meant to a degree. And it was really interesting. And I was having a really good time. And a few other people who I went to school with went to college for it. So I thought, why not me? And see if I can make a career out of it. And then that's how I found Ithaca.
So you are the second designer we have spoken to who went to Ithaca College. What did you learn there that advanced your career?
I think one of the most important things that we did learn at Ithaca, besides the craft of it all, is how to manage your time, how to work under high stress environments, and how to really be good the first time around. I'm not talking about like everybody makes mistakes here and then, but to really double check your work, get your work done efficiently, get it done quick. And that is very important, especially starting out in the city. Making sure you're fast, you're accurate, and those are very important. And make sure everything looks good is one of the, I would say, is the most important.
Well, let me ask the follow-up. What did you not learn there that you think they should incorporate into their curriculum now?
Well, for me, now being a lot in broadcast lighting, Ithaca College has one of the most renowned communication schools in the country. And when you're in the theater department there, you don't really spend time over there while they're doing, TV shows and everything like that in the communication school. Even just to, take a month of one of your semesters of lighting design to go and, dip your feet into what it takes to light a TV set is just more knowledge is better, in my opinion.
Did you do any television at Ithaca?
I did not.
So how did you transition from dance and theater and opera to television?
Ithaca does this great thing of field studies every year in March where they take all of the students and bring them to the city for a week, and you see a bunch of alum and shows and all these other things. And at the lighting design group, Steve Brill is an Ithaca College grad, and he would take students on a tour of CNN. And I saw him, we did the tour, and I asked for an internship. And Steve gave me an internship, and I spent the summer working with the lighting design group as an intern. And I kind of kick-started my career into lighting, TV lighting.
I should point out that Steve Brill is the president and owner of Lighting Design Group.
So what was it that you liked about that side of the business that pulled you over?
Besides in my early career that it paid a little bit more than theater, I really enjoyed how there's a little bit more of a formula when you're working on TV, a lot of white light, obviously, but to be in situations where, you know, it's a lot more compact than a normal like theater is sometimes would really help me become more drawn to it. And I like the intimacy of, you know, working with your crews is just, you get to not hang out more, but you get to be more personable with a lot of the people you work with when you're working on a television studio versus how my experience working in larger theaters. And that's kind of nice. You're going to be stuck with someone for 12 hours. You're not alone at a desk somewhere.
What were some of the first projects that you worked on at the lighting design group?
When I was an intern here, I got thrown around to a lot of places, just like observing at CNN or Bloomberg. I remember hanging out at one of the sound stages, and they did a filming, like a music video when I was there. I think Kevin Hardy was the LD on that, and that was really interesting. One of the first jobs I did with Scott, it was at WPIX, and we were lighting Daily Mail TV. And that was really cool. My first like on-set install. And then we worked on Impractical Jokers, a Christmas special out in Staten Island at the theater. And that was really cool, seeing how a big special comes together with an audience, nor in a theatrical setting, but all of the starts and stops of television. That was really interesting and really fun as well.
Everyone knows that a lot of students go to universities and they end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And they go into areas of the business that it's going to make it very difficult to pay off school debt and things like that. And a lot of people are deciding not to go to grad school, partially for that reason. But also there are other technological reasons that, you know, a lot of programs don't have a lot of money and their funding is being cut, and they can't provide students with the type of technology that they need to know. And I'm sure as a young professional that you've weighed a lot of this. I mean, you went to a very good school, obviously an undergraduate school. I guess my question is, were you ever thinking about going to grad school? And why have you decided, at least up to now, not to pursue a graduate degree?
Oh, yeah. I definitely weighed that decision many times over the past 10 years, especially near COVID. I felt like an impasse. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who are maybe listening to this in their early professional career, COVID hits, a lot's up in the air. All of a sudden, people, you know, stop talking because we're all shut down. The whole industry comes to a halt. Do I have enough contacts to sustain myself when we're out of this? Am I good enough? Do I have enough experience enough for when we come out of this to take care of this? What companies are going to come back after this? All of that, I was really, do I go to grad school? Should I go to grad school? And what really it came down to is I had a friend who was at Yale, and I was telling them about my experience and what I'm wondering. And their advice was like, if you're going to pursue TV, like broadcast television, maybe don't go to grad school. You seemed like you have a lot of contacts, and that was a good reassuring thing to me from a friend of mine who was in his second year there. And I ultimately decided not to go to grad school or apply to grad school and just keep pursuing my current contacts and friends and businesses I work with. And so far, it's worked out okay. So, but who knows what the future holds? I always wanted to be a teacher, like a professor. And when I first graduated, and I don't think is down in the future for me anymore, but that was one of the reasons I thought about grad school as well.
Did I read correctly that you had an interest in art and architecture, like a minor?
Yeah, I minored in it when I was at Ithaca. A lot of like Renaissance and Gothic architecture.
How does that inform the way you look at lighting?
Great question. I really was doing it for when I was working in scenic design a lot, to learn as much as I could, to have that kind of knowledge in the back of my head without having to look up a lot of it. But for lighting, since I was studying so many like churches and cathedrals back then, stained glass windows, direction of light, that kind of stuff, the strong angles when I was working a lot in theater were always something I looked for because of looking at it through a church all the time. Nothing's as beautiful as that beautiful like stained glass look when the sun hits it just right, going right across the church. It's beautiful.
So then coming out of school at Ithaca, did you face the fear? I mean, were you scared? I mean, you're going into a whole new career. What did you do to get your career going?
To get my career going, it really, really stems from the field studies at Ithaca. I got my internship with the lighting design group there. I also met Alexander Dodge, who was a scenic designer who I met and got an internship with him that ended up being working in his studio for 2 years as an assistant. And then a lot of cold emailing people. I remember back when we first moved to the city, my friends and I, if we had no work, we would go to a coffee shop and just Google designers and email them and see who responds. Just try and get coffee with them, try and see something. A lot of no responses. So those of you who are trying to do that, I wouldn't get discouraged. How I started working with Scott is I emailed him, and then 4 months later, he just replied to that email saying, "Can you be at WPX in 2 days?" And then I went, and I've been working with him for 6 years. So yeah, it's kind of scary, but and then I found a lot of electrician work to kind of pay the bills and do that and also it makes you a better designer, in my opinion. Doing Fashion Week, working on weddings, other kind of events and stalls. People have worked at the Public as an electrician, and you meet designers that way. It's a lot of grinding a little bit your first couple years.
And you didn't have a problem doing whatever was asked, slinging a wrench, doing drafting, anything like that? I mean,
not at all. No. I love drafting. That's my probably favorite part of my job, which is why I still do it today as much as I can. And I don't mind. And still to this day, if one of my friends calls up and says, "Hey, can you be an electrician for me for a couple of days? I have this event. I need an extra hand." I'm happy to do it. I have people. You have to get called and be a programmer. I think in today's day and age, as a young lighting designer, you have to be an electrician. You have to be a programmer. You have to be a designer. And all of those things are really valuable to make you a better designer.
Did you have that knowledge?
Of the knowledge of doing that
at Ithaca, were you trained in that, or did you have to self-teach? Okay.
No, yeah, you're taught from the ground. Everybody starts as an electrician or carpenter, then you move to a programmer or a head electrician, then you move to an assistant and then a designer. You have to work your way up over the years so that you know every part of the job, because there's nothing worse than asking someone to overhang a 5-degree on a 12-foot truss where they have to lean over because that's your vision, but then you don't really know how hard that is to do.
That's embedded in your subconsciousness.
Exactly.
Like, I am not going to ask this poor cat to do this. I am not going to ask.
They're going to hate me.
I'll use a 20-degree. I'm not going to use a 5-degree. I'm sorry. I'll make it work. Yeah, that's really funny. One of the things you said, and it's really, really instructional to a lot of young designers, is that the more skills you have, the better prepared you are to not only work in the business, but also to get the connections.
Absolutely.
And you're working your way up, and you've had so far 10 years doing this. And you're doing it in a place, in New York City, where everybody wants to go to New York City, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of competition there. So again, we talk about on our show quite a bit being multi-talented, multi-facile, so that you're able to, I know a little bit of that. Yeah, I know that, for some reason the programmer's ill today, hey, I can do that. Can you jump in? Absolutely. And all of a sudden then, I know that's why I hire assistants. They need to know these things. They need to know about video, because before AI replaces everybody, you're going to have to find those jobs, right? So I find it very interesting that you're surviving. You've got you and your wife to be. Well, by the time people will listen to this, it's your wife, are both working steadily in a very, very respectable company. Even though they hired Dennis too. I can't believe Dennis actually has a job. That's a whole nother story. I mean, you're really a success story, don't you think?
I hope so. I think that I'm living a decent life right now.
How long will it be until you take over Dennis's job? That's my question.
You can have it.
I was like, you got to ask him. I don't know.
You guys are funny. When you were talking about drafting before, did you learn to draft by hand? Are you now using software? What do you use? What's your process?
This is one of my biggest takes, is I think everybody should take a full semester at least of hand drafting. And I know some schools have gotten rid of it, but hand drafting is like, that's where you have to, you get the whole picture. You can't really make a mistake, because if you do, it's going to look ugly.
Right.
But I learned how to hand draft, and then I learned Vectorworks, and then after that I learned AutoCAD, and now I'm in the process of learning Revit. I'm currently responsible. We're going to move the systems department here from AutoCAD to Revit, so I'm in the process of doing that. So I've drafted in Vectorworks and CAD for many different projects, people, jobs,
So it's yet another reason to get more and more skill sets under your belt so that you're, become more successful, as it were.
It's interesting you say you can't make a mistake while you're hand drafting. Years ago, when I took the union exam, there were two guys in there from Canada, and they were drafting in ink.
Oh.
And
That's
it was
bold.
just so, I mean, it was like they owned the room. You couldn't draft for them. You kept looking, thinking, surely they're going to screw up. But it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
And in metric, they were drawing in metric.
Steve, I did my my MFA monograph in ink, and when I took the USA exam, I did it in ink. With the old Stedler pens. Remember the Stedler pens?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
And one of the designers, it wasn't Lee Watson, of course, but one of the designers said, "Don't ever show anybody that, or you'll never find work. They'll think you're too expensive and you take too long."
Oh, let me ask you a question. Let me circle you back to something. And you were talking about learning not just to budget your time, but learning how to deal with stress.
What drugs do you take, Paul? We need to know.
Budgeting time is easy compared to stress.
Yeah. You got to take it in. I think it's one of those things where you kind of get used to it. I mean, I do personally. When you're doing something new, and then that kind of stress is different from something familiar, but you're on a time crunch kind of stress. So they're two different things. Like, I just had to finish something very, very quick in like an hour, and the stress of getting it done before it gets that. But I know what I'm doing. I know what I have to do. I know it's just I'm on a time crunch, got to get it done, versus going into a new building on a new project, new people that you don't know, and you're stressed because you don't want to make a fool of yourself, or you're afraid you're going to mess up, and you just have to count on yourself and just know that you have the knowledge and the experience, and you're going to do fine kind of stress. And those stresses will go away as you navigate the industry. I think some of them will never go away because it's just the nature of our jobs, but some of them will be like, I'm not stressed anymore because I know what I'm doing. I know what I got to do, and I'll get it done.
You work for a number of different people, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
What about the stresses of when 4 or 5 clients of yours want you to do the same job on the same weekend?
The power of saying no is hard, and I don't have that sometimes. It's delegation of time, being upfront with people and honest about deadlines and promises. Don't overpromise, because there's nothing worse than saying, I'll get you the whole thing, and you can only get 75% of that. I've been in that shoe where I thought I could get it all done, and I didn't, and that's never a good look. Just learn how you work, learn how and manage expectations that way. Being like, I know I can get this done. I can't promise this much because I can't get it done. And you just have to be honest with yourself. And as long as you're honest with other people and other clients or designers, then it builds just a trust over time that it's going to get done, and they'll trust your word more.
When you're working Aruba Productions, I'm not really that familiar with, but I assume it's a theatrical company, and you said you do touring productions for them. So does that take you on the road?
Yeah, I am on the road like 3 weekends a month. We do It's a touring production of they have like 4 different tours that have been going on for years. They're C.S. Lewis shows. They're based on C.S. Lewis books, and they do cities all around the country. It's like Saturday, 1 or 2 shows, or Sunday, 1 or 2 shows. So I fly out on Fridays. I do all the advanced paperwork and meetings with the venues and more production managery work. And this is how my weekends have been going for a while. And so I do all the lighting, advanced paperwork and everything, talk with the venues, go out. We do a load in the morning. I do focus, hang with the crew, do a show, do a strike after that. It's a very small show. They're like one-man shows. And then I go home on Sunday generally. So I'm gone for like 48 hours. And I manage that stuff. And then sometimes they do donor weekends, and I've lit the donor weekend before. And last year they did a whole big professional taping production of one of the shows, and I was the lighting director for that. And that was really cool. But yeah, I've been all around the country with them. It's a pretty cool experience.
So fess up. You're getting married this weekend. Is it a day the tour isn't out? Or did you say someone else has got to fill in?
What, the wedding or the tour?
Tour is unfortunately out, even though we tried to not have it go out. Because we were like, we're getting married this day, guys. Maybe don't do it. That didn't work. So
Oh, my.
we're not going to deal with it this weekend.
You're not going to deal with it.
It sounds like at this point, one of the big things I keep hearing over and over, which is something that my peers and old boomers like me never talked about, and that's maintaining a work-life balance. We just allowed our lives to get totally screwed up and our relationships to fall apart. It sounds like you're maintaining a pretty decent work-life balance. And, well, apparently Tara's in the business too, so it's probably easier. What advice would you give to younger designers who don't have 10 years of experience and they're scared to death about their next job? How would you tell them to maintain that, to make sure that they can remain stress-free and still be able to work and have a life? I mean, you're on the road three weekends, and then you're doing freelance work. It sounds pretty crazy.
It is, but you got to make time for yourself. Find things that you like. Like, I'm a big sports fan, so I go to a lot of baseball games and stuff when on my days off. If I'm out on the road, I'll try and go to a baseball game if it's around there. And just make time for your friends and family if you can, because, you know, one of my biggest things is, especially with family, if there's a time for you to, if you were a good standing with your family, if there's time for you to go see your family and it's your one day off, I don't think it's hard to regret going to see your grandparents on that day off, because, you know, even though you're like, oh, I really wish I could sit in my apartment, you know, you'll always feel better doing social things when you find the time to do them. And planning, if you're a freelancer, make sure you plan for a day off during the week. You know, one of the nice things about being a freelancer in New York is the laundromats are usually empty on Tuesdays, so you can plan that.
I have a quick question, because you're talking about sports and I'm a sports fan myself. These are quick answers, okay? Yankees, Mets.
Yankees.
All right. You win because I'm Yankees. Knicks, Nets.
Knicks.
Oh, man.
I love that's easy. It's easy.
Okay, now here's one. Dodgers, Red Sox.
I hate the Red Sox, so I'd have to go Dodgers.
Okay.
Especially
All
after this
Yankees
past
fans
weekend.
hate the Red Sox.
I couldn't believe this weekend. What the hell happened to Yankees this weekend?
God.
Oh, my God. It was blasphemous.
Then they got
I'm
shut out
sorry.
last night. So
What is going on? I just don't understand.
oh my God.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about while you have us here? You know, you've got 800 years of lighting experience right here on the show right now.
And that's just me.
That's just counting Dennis.
That's just Dennis. Oh, I know the question I wanted to ask you. What is your dream job?
My dream job.
Like, you know, some people say, I want to light a Super Bowl, or, I want to light a variety show, or I want to light the Tonys or something like that. In broadcast lighting, because obviously you want to do broadcast lighting.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, which is awesome, right?
If you want to do the Super Bowl, I know who you can talk to who can disabuse you of that immediately.
Done. I mean, honestly, I'm as a big sports fan. The Olympics, I watch every 2 years, and that is crazy. And I know my coworkers who go out there, they have a great time every year. But the Olympics is probably one of the few jobs that I would miss a lot of things for.
Well, Paul, he who shall not be named anymore, runs the lighting for the Olympics. Maybe you should talk to somebody in that office of yours.
Maybe, Paul. Here it is, man. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's one of the cool things that the lighting design group does that is really still impressive to me to this day, that they get to go out every 2 years and do an Olympics, and the whole world is watching. It's crazy. Like, the whole world watches the Olympics.
Well, Paul, I'm in LA, and when you guys come out to do the Olympics soon, please look me up.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have a lot of time on your hands, I'm sure, a lot of free time. So, Anyway, Paul, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
It's very interesting. We started this Young Designers series, and so far we've been getting a lot of feedback from people who really love listening to young designers and what they're going through right now and how the industry is changing. I just think it's great. And congratulations, man.
Thank you.
You and Tara, many, 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 many decades of love and peace and harmony and kids and grandchildren.
Thank you.
Forget about that.
That means congratulations.
Forget about the damn kids. Do yourselves a favor. Don't have kids. That's my only.
Oh, come
and
on.
I don't have kids. So here we go.
You want kids. You want grandkids. You'll love them.
We're going to have grandkids. Yeah, Lori has a son and a daughter who are both in childbearing age. So we're expecting that soon. And I guess it'll be a good granddad. Who knows? So, I'll try not to. Yeah, right. And amazing to you guys, too. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful life.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this silly podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you do decide to litigate, you will be dealing with me, Snoot, from the Snoot Group. And you don't want to with me, because I will make your life unbearably miserable as I drain the retirement funds from these Lumen bozos.
Thank you, Snoot. I'm looking forward to meeting your grandchildren. Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and Sister, coming to you from Long Beach, the Lone Star State, St. Bart's, and the Big Apple, New York City.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you even more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
Well, thank you again, Paul, and congratulations. And we'll see all of our listeners next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.